an ordinary single father, an untouchable, powerful supervisor, a reckless ocean race with a forbidden reward. Ryan Carter never imagined that a split-second decision could shatter the careful life he'd built and open a future he'd never dared to dream of. This is a story about courage, sacrifice, and love born from the most dangerous places. Stay until the end, hit like, and comment the city you're watching from so I can see how far this story has traveled. Now, let's begin. The morning started like every other morning in Ryan Carter's life. Measured, predictable, safe. He woke at 5:47 a.m., 3 minutes before his alarm. The apartment was silent except for the hum of the refrigerator and the soft breathing of his 6-year-old daughter, Mia, asleep in the next room. Ryan sat up slowly, rubbing the back of his neck where a dull ache had settled in from yesterday's shift. 32 years old, and his body already kept score. He moved through the dim kitchen, filling the kettle, setting out Mia's cereal bowl and spoon in their exact places. Routine was survival. Routine meant nothing went wrong. By 6:15, he was dressed in his red lifeguard shorts and gray hoodie, lacing up his sneakers in the hallway. Mia's babysitter, Mrs. Calloway, would arrive at 7 o'clock. He'd be at the beach by 7:30. Same schedule, same pattern, same life. Ryan didn't mind it. In fact, he preferred it this way. Chaos had already taken enough from him. 3 years ago, his ex-wife, Jessica, had walked out without looking back. No explanation that made sense. No fight worth remembering. Just a note on the counter and an empty closet. She'd left Mia behind like an afterthought, and Ryan had been picking up the pieces ever since. He became a single father overnight, gave up the accounting job that paid well but demanded everything, took the lifeguard position because the hours were flexible and the work was honest. It wasn't glamorous, it wasn't ambitious, but it kept the lights on and let him be there when Mia needed him. That was enough, or at least that's what he told himself. The beach was Ryan's second home. Crescent Bay stretched along the California coast like a postcard. White sand, blue water, tourists with expensive sunglasses. The lifeguard station sat elevated on wooden stilts, overlooking the shoreline. Ryan's tower was the middle one, Tower 3, wedged between the chaos of the main beach and the quieter tide pools to the south. He liked Tower 3. It was unassuming. It didn't demand attention. Neither did Ryan. He was the guy people forgot about until they needed something. Reliable, steady, invisible in all the ways that mattered. The other guards were younger, louder, more confident. They cracked jokes and flirted with beachgoers and posted photos online like their lives were worth documenting. Ryan just did his job. "Morning, Carter." Ryan glanced over. It was Derek, one of the younger guards, already tan and grinning like life owed him nothing but good weather. "Morning," Ryan said. "You catch the game last night?" "No." "Dude, you gotta live a little." Ryan didn't answer. He climbed the ladder to his tower, settled into the worn plastic chair, and scanned the water. Early morning meant fewer swimmers, but you still had to watch. People underestimated the ocean. They always did. The hours passed slowly. A few families set up umbrellas. A group of teenagers tested the cold water and retreated, laughing. Ryan logged everything in his notebook: wave conditions, water temperature, wind speed. It was mindless work, but it kept him grounded. Around 11 o'clock, the radio crackled. "All units, Brooks is on site." Ryan straightened slightly. Elena Brooks, the head supervisor. She didn't come to the beach often, usually stayed in the main office handling schedules, budgets, incident reports. But when she did show up, people noticed. Elena Brooks wasn't the kind of woman you overlooked. She was 41, tall, sharp-featured, with dark hair always pulled back in a tight bun. She moved like someone who had been an athlete once, controlled, efficient, nothing wasted. Her reputation preceded her. Tough. Demanding. Fair, but only if you earned it. Ryan had worked under her for 2 years and spoken to her maybe a dozen times. She didn't need to know him. He was just another name on the rotation. He didn't expect that to change. But then she was standing at the base of his tower, looking up. "Carter?" Ryan leaned over the railing. "Yes, ma'am." "Come down. I need a word." His stomach tightened. Had he done something wrong, missed a report, forgotten a shift swap? He climbed down, landing in the sand beside her. Up close, Elena was even more intimidating. Her eyes were gray-green, sharp enough to cut through excuses. "You've been here 2 years," she said. "Yes, ma'am." Never late, never complained, never caused problems. Ryan didn't know where this was going. "I just do my job." "Exactly." She folded her arms. "You're forgettable, Carter, and I mean that as a compliment. You don't make noise. You don't stir up drama. You're solid." "Thank you. But you're also stuck." Ryan frowned. "I'm not following." Elena glanced toward the water, then back at him. "You ever push yourself, or do you just coast?" The question landed harder than it should have. Ryan felt his jaw tighten. "I have a kid. I don't have the luxury of taking risks." "That's not what I asked." He met her gaze, refusing to flinch. "With all due respect, ma'am, I don't see how this is relevant." For a moment, something flickered in her expression. Amusement, maybe. Or respect. "Fair enough," she said. "Here's the relevant part. You swim every morning before your shift, don't you?" "Yeah, helps me wake up." "You're fast." Ryan blinked. "I'm decent." "I've seen you," Elena said. "You're better than decent. You've got endurance, form, discipline." "Okay. So let's make this interesting." She stepped closer, lowering her voice. "I'll race you, out to the buoy and back, right now." Ryan stared at her. "You're serious?" "Do I look like I'm joking?" She didn't. "Why?" Ryan asked. Elena's mouth curved into something that wasn't quite a smile. "Because I'm bored, and because I want to see if you're as predictable as I think you are." Ryan's pulse kicked up. This was insane. She was his supervisor. This wasn't protocol. This wasn't professional. "And if I say no," he asked, "then you prove me right. You're a coward who plays it safe." The words stung more than they should have. Ryan felt heat rising in his chest. Not anger exactly. Something sharper. Something he'd buried a long time ago. "What do I get if I win?" he asked. Elena's eyes gleamed. "What do you want?" Ryan opened his mouth, closed it. His brain scrambled for something appropriate, something safe. But before he could answer, Elena leaned in, her voice dropping to a whisper. "Win, and I'll give you something you've been too afraid to ask for." Ryan's breath caught. "Which is?" "Guess you'll have to beat me to find out." She turned and walked toward the water, peeling off her windbreaker to reveal a black one-piece swimsuit underneath. Ryan stood frozen, his mind racing. This was reckless. This was stupid. This was everything he'd spent 3 years avoiding. But damn it, he was tired of being invisible. He pulled off his hoodie and followed her. The water was cold, sharper than Ryan expected. He waded in behind Elena, who moved through the surf like she'd done this 1,000 times. Maybe she had. He didn't know anything about her, really, just the reputation, just the authority. She stopped when the water reached her waist and turned to face him. "Buoy and back," she said. "No shortcuts. No excuses." Ryan nodded. His heart was hammering now, adrenaline flooding his system. "On 3, Elena said. 1. Ryan bent his knees. "Ready. 2. He locked eyes with her. There was a challenge there, a dare. 3. They dove. Ryan's body remembered before his mind did. The stroke, the rhythm, the pull of muscle and breath and will. He hadn't raced anyone since high school, but the instinct was still there, buried under years of caution. Elena was fast. She was brutally fast. She cut through the water with vicious efficiency, her arms slicing clean, her kicks tight and controlled. This wasn't some casual bet. She was competing. Ryan pushed harder. His lungs burned, his shoulders screamed. The buoy was 200 meters out, bobbing in the swell. He focused on it, blocking out everything else. Halfway there, he pulled even with her. She glanced sideways, and for a split second, he saw surprise. Then she surged ahead. Ryan dug deeper. He'd spent 3 years holding back, playing it safe, staying small. But right now, none of that mattered. Right now, he was just a man in the water, chasing something he couldn't name. The buoy loomed closer. Elena reached it first, slapping the metal with her palm before pivoting back. Ryan touched it a heartbeat later and kicked off. The return was worse. The current fought him. His arms felt like lead. But he refused to quit. Elena was ahead by a body length, then half, then nothing. They were neck and neck 30 meters from shore, 20 meters, 10. Ryan's fingers scraped sand. He staggered upright, gasping, seawater streaming down his face. Elena surfaced beside him, chest heaving, hair plastered to her skull. For a moment, neither of them spoke. Then Elena started laughing. It wasn't a polite laugh. It was raw, unguarded, almost surprised. "You won," she said, breathless. Ryan blinked. What? By half a second, maybe less. But you won. He didn't feel like a winner. He felt like he'd been hit by a truck. Elena wiped water from her face, still grinning. "Didn't think you had it in you, Carter." Ryan bent over, hands on his knees, trying to catch his breath. What the hell was that? A test? For what? She straightened, meeting his gaze. The laughter faded, replaced by something more serious. "To see if you'd take the risk." Ryan straightened slowly. His pulse was still racing, but now it wasn't just from the swim. "So?" he asked. "What do I win?" Elena's expression shifted. For a moment, she looked almost uncertain, a crack in the armor. Then she shook her head. "Not here, not now." "You promised?" "I know what I promised." Her voice was quieter now. "But I need to be sure you want the answer." Ryan stared at her, frustration and confusion twisting together. "You can't just—" "Tomorrow," Elena said. "After your shift. Meet me at the South Pier." "Why?" "Because I don't give out answers in public, Carter. And because if you're serious about this, you'll show up." She turned and walked back toward the lifeguard station, leaving Ryan standing in the surf, dripping and speechless. He didn't know what he'd just agreed to, but he knew one thing. His life had just stopped being predictable. The rest of the day passed in a blur. Ryan climbed back into his tower, but he couldn't focus. His mind kept replaying the race, the cold shock of the water, the way Elena had looked at him like he was more than just another forgettable name on a schedule. What did she mean by something you've been too afraid to ask for? He didn't even know what he wanted. Stability, safety, a life that didn't fall apart. But was that really all? By the time his shift ended, Ryan was exhausted in a way that had nothing to do with the ocean. He drove home, picked up Mia from Mrs. Calloway, and went through the motions of dinner, bath time, bedtime stories. Mia chattered about her day, something about finger painting and a boy named Lucas who ate glue. But Ryan only half listened. His mind was somewhere else. When Mia finally fell asleep, Ryan sat on the couch in the dark, staring at nothing. He could ignore Elena's invitation, pretend the race never happened, go back to the safe, quiet life he'd built. But the truth was, he didn't want to. For the first time in years, Ryan Carter felt something other than numb, and that terrified him. The next morning arrived too quickly. Ryan barely slept, his mind spinning through scenarios he couldn't control. He went through his morning routine mechanically: wake Mia, make breakfast, drop her off, drive to the beach. But everything felt different now, charged with possibility and danger. The beach was crowded when he arrived. Summer was hitting its peak, and families packed the sand like sardines. Ryan climbed into Tower 3 and tried to focus on the water, but his eyes kept drifting south, toward the pier where Elena had told him to meet her. 4 o'clock couldn't come fast enough. Derek stopped by around noon, bringing a sandwich from the snack bar. "You okay, man?" he asked. "You look like you saw a ghost." "I'm fine," Ryan said. "You sure? You've been weird since yesterday." Ryan took the sandwich without looking at him. "Just tired." "Yeah, well, don't fall asleep up here. Brooks has been on the warpath lately. Heard she chewed out Martinez for being 2 minutes late to a staff meeting." Ryan's stomach tightened at the mention of Elena's name. "She always like that?" he asked, trying to sound casual. Derek shrugged. "Pretty much. Don't get me wrong, she's good at her job. But she's intense. Like scary intense. Nobody really knows much about her. She doesn't do the whole friendly supervisor thing. Maybe she's just private. Maybe. Or maybe she's just cold." Derek grinned. "Why, you got a crush on the Ice Queen?" Ryan nearly choked on his sandwich. "What? No." "Relax, I'm kidding. Besides, she's way out of your league." Derek walked away laughing, and Ryan sat there feeling like an idiot. Was that what this was? A crush? No, it couldn't be. He barely knew her, and she was his supervisor. This was just curiosity. A momentary lapse in judgment. But even as he told himself that, he knew he was lying. The afternoon dragged on. A couple of minor incidents, a lost kid, a jellyfish sting, kept Ryan occupied, but not enough to stop the clock from crawling. Finally, at 4 p.m., his replacement arrived. Ryan grabbed his bag and headed south. The South Pier was quieter than the main stretch. Fewer tourists. Just a few fishermen and joggers. The sun was starting to dip, casting long shadows across the sand. Elena was already there, leaning against the railing, looking out at the water. She didn't turn when Ryan approached, but she spoke. "Wasn't sure you'd come." "Neither was I," Ryan admitted. Elena glanced at him, and for the first time he saw something softer in her expression. Not warmth exactly, but something close. "You want to know what you won?" she said. "Yeah." She pushed off the railing and faced him. "The truth." Ryan frowned. "About what?" "About why I challenged you." He waited. Elena exhaled slowly, as if the words were harder than she expected. "I used to swim competitively," she said. "In college. I was good. Really good. Had offers, sponsorships, a shot at nationals." Ryan stayed quiet. "Then I blew out my shoulder halfway through junior year, rotator cuff. Surgery didn't fix it. Physical therapy didn't fix it. I tried to come back, but the pain never stopped. So I quit." She said it flatly, like she'd told the story 100 times and stopped caring. But Ryan heard the edge underneath. "I'm sorry," he said. Elena shrugged. "It was a long time ago. I moved on. Got into management, built a career. But I still swim, every week, just not competitively. Not like I used to." "Why tell me this?" Elena met his eyes. "Because yesterday, when I saw you in the water, I saw someone who'd forgotten what it felt like to push, to fight, to want something more than just surviving." Ryan's chest tightened. "And I thought," Elena continued, "maybe if I could get you to remember, I'd remember too." The words hung between them, fragile and raw. Ryan didn't know what to say. He wasn't used to this, people being honest, vulnerable, real. "I don't know what you want from me," he said quietly. Elena smiled faintly. "I don't either, but I wanted to see if you'd show up. And you did." Before Ryan could respond, her radio crackled. "Brooks, we've got a situation. Possible distress call. North Cove." Elena's expression shifted instantly, all business. She grabbed the radio. "Details. 2 swimmers caught in a riptide. Local patrol requested backup." "I'm on it." She looked at Ryan. "You coming?" Ryan didn't hesitate. "Yeah." They ran. The North Cove was a 15-minute sprint up the beach. By the time they arrived, Ryan's lungs were burning again, but he didn't care. 2 figures were visible in the water, about 100 meters out, struggling against the current. "Idiots," Elena muttered. They went past the flags. She was already pulling off her jacket, kicking off her shoes. "Wait," Ryan said. "You can't—" "I'm the supervisor. It's my call." "Your shoulder—" Elena shot him a look that could cut glass. "I'm fine." She dove in before he could argue. Ryan cursed under his breath and followed. The water was rougher here, the current vicious. Ryan fought through the waves, his eyes locked on Elena's form ahead of him. She was strong, cutting through the water with precision, but he could see the slight hitch in her stroke, the way her left arm didn't pull quite as hard as her right. The swimmers were panicking, flailing against the riptide instead of going with it. One of them went under. "Go left," Elena shouted to Ryan. "I'll take the other." Ryan veered toward the struggling swimmer, a teenage boy whose eyes were wide with terror. Ryan grabbed him from behind, locking his arm across the kid's chest. "Stop fighting!" Ryan yelled. "I've got you!" The boy thrashed once more, then went limp, surrendering to Ryan's grip. Ryan started the swim back, angling parallel to shore to escape the current. His muscles screamed. The boy was dead weight, and the ocean didn't care. He glanced over his shoulder. Elena had reached the other swimmer, a girl, also a teenager, and was towing her back. But something was wrong. Elena's stroke was jagged now, her face twisted in pain, her shoulder. Ryan's heart seized. He pushed harder, dragging the boy through the water until his feet finally touched sand. A lifeguard from the main station was there, pulling the kid the rest of the way. Ryan turned back. Elena was still 50 meters out, struggling. He dove back in. "Carter, what are you—" someone shouted, but Ryan didn't listen. He reached Elena just as her grip on the girl started to slip. Her face was pale, her breathing harsh. "Let me take her," Ryan said. "I can—" "Let go, Elena." She did. Ryan grabbed the girl and started swimming, but Elena was falling behind. He could hear her breathing, ragged and sharp. "Stay with me," he said. "I'm fine." She wasn't. Ryan made a choice. He signaled to another guard in the water, passing off the girl, and then went back for Elena. "I don't need—" "Shut up," Ryan said, and wrapped his arm around her waist. For a moment, she resisted. Then her body sagged against him, and he knew how much pain she was in. They made it to shore together. Elena collapsed on the sand, clutching her shoulder, her jaw clenched so tight Ryan thought her teeth might crack. "You're an idiot," she gasped. "Yeah, well, you're not much smarter." She almost laughed, but it came out as a groan. The paramedics arrived within minutes, checking over the swimmers and then turning their attention to Elena. She waved them off, insisting she was fine, but Ryan saw the way her hand trembled. "You need to get that looked at," he said. "It's just a flare-up." "It's more than that." Elena glared at him, but there was no heat in it, just exhaustion. "Why did you come back for me?" she asked. Ryan crouched beside her, meeting her eyes. "Because you would have done the same for me." Elena stared at him for a long moment. Then quietly she said, "Yeah, I would have." The crowd dispersed as the situation resolved. The swimmers were fine, shaken but unharmed. Elena refused the ambulance, insisting she'd see her own doctor. Ryan walked her back to her car, her good arm slung over his shoulder for support. "You're stubborn," he said. "So are you." They reached her car, a sleek gray sedan parked near the lifeguard station. Elena leaned against it, still catching her breath. "Thank you," she said. "For what?" "For not letting me drown in my own pride." Ryan smiled. "Any time." Elena looked at him, really looked at him, and something shifted in her expression. The walls she kept up, the armor she wore. It cracked, just a little. "You're not what I expected, Carter." "What did you expect?" "Someone easy to forget." Ryan's throat tightened. "And now?" Elena didn't answer. Instead, she reached out and touched his arm, just briefly, before pulling back. "Drive safe," she said, and got into her car. Ryan stood there in the parking lot, watching her drive away, his heart pounding in a way that had nothing to do with the rescue. Something had changed between them, and Ryan had no idea what came next. That night, after Mia was asleep, Ryan sat on his balcony with a beer he didn't drink. The ocean was dark, the sound of waves a steady rhythm in the background. He thought about Elena, about the way she'd looked at him on the pier, about the pain in her eyes when she talked about her swimming career, about the way she'd trusted him in the water, even when it cost her pride. Ryan had spent 3 years building walls, keeping people out, staying safe, but Elena Brooks had walked right through them without even trying. And now he didn't know what to do. His phone buzzed, a text from an unknown number. "You did good today. Thank you." Ryan stared at the message. Then he typed back, "You okay?" A pause. Then, "Will be. Shoulder's a mess, but I've dealt with worse. You should rest." "I know, but I wanted to say what you asked me at the pier, about what you won." Ryan's pulse quickened. "Yeah?" Another pause, longer this time. "Honesty. That's what you won, Carter, and I don't give that to many people." Ryan read the message 3 times, then he typed, "Then I'm glad I raced you." Elena's response came quickly. "Me too." Ryan set his phone down and stared out at the ocean. For the first time in a long time, he felt like maybe, just maybe, his life was about to become something more than just routine. Something dangerous, something real. And maybe, just maybe, that was exactly what he needed. The following week passed in a strange new rhythm that felt both familiar and completely foreign. Ryan still woke at 5:47 a.m., still went through the same motions with Mia, still climbed into Tower 3 and scanned the water. But everything underneath had shifted, like the ocean floor had dropped away and left him floating in deeper water. Elena didn't come to the beach for 3 days. Her shoulder, Ryan assumed. He caught himself looking toward the parking lot more often than he should, waiting for her gray sedan. On the fourth day, she showed up. Ryan spotted her from his tower, walking across the sand with her usual controlled stride, though he noticed she favored her right side slightly. She wore a light jacket despite the heat, probably covering the brace he knew she had to be wearing. She didn't come to his tower, didn't acknowledge him at all, just walked the beach perimeter with her clipboard, checking in with the other guards, taking notes. Professional, distant, exactly what she should be. But when she passed Tower 3 on her way back to the station, she glanced up. Their eyes met for maybe 2 seconds. She didn't smile, didn't wave, just held his gaze, then kept walking. Ryan's heart kicked against his ribs like it was trying to escape. That night she texted him. Coffee tomorrow, 6 a.m., pier parking lot. Don't make me regret this. Ryan stared at the message until his screen went dark. Then he typed back, I'll be there. He barely slept. The pier parking lot was empty when Ryan arrived at 5:55 a.m., the sky still gray with pre-dawn light. Elena's car was already there. She sat on the hood, 2 paper cups beside her, staring out at the ocean. Ryan parked and walked over. She handed him one of the cups without looking at him. Black, right? She said. How'd you know? You seem like the type who doesn't complicate things. Ryan took a sip. It was terrible coffee, gas station quality, but he didn't care. How's the shoulder? He asked. Functional. Doctor said I tore some scar tissue during the rescue. Nothing I haven't dealt with before. You shouldn't have gone in. Elena finally looked at him. Would you have stayed on shore? That's different. How? I'm not injured. No, you're just a single father with everything to lose. She raised an eyebrow. We both made stupid choices, Carter. Don't pretend yours was smarter. Ryan couldn't argue with that. They sat in silence for a moment, drinking bad coffee and watching the waves. It should have been awkward, but it wasn't. There was something easy about it, comfortable in a way Ryan hadn't felt with anyone in years. Why did you want to meet? He asked. Elena set her cup down. Because I need to know if you're serious. About what? This. She gestured between them. Whatever this is. Ryan's throat went dry. I don't know what this is. Neither do I. That's the problem. She turned to face him fully, her expression hard to read. I don't do complicated, Ryan. I don't do messy. My life is structured, controlled. I like it that way. And you're a complication I didn't plan for. I didn't plan for this either, Ryan said quietly. I know. That's why I'm asking. Because if we're going to figure this out, we need to be smart about it. No impulsive decisions, no drama, no what? Ryan interrupted. No feelings? Because I think it's a little late for that. Elena's jaw tightened. For a moment, she looked almost vulnerable. I'm your supervisor, she said. There are rules, policies. If anyone finds out, then we'll deal with it. You don't understand. I've worked too hard to build this career. I can't risk. I'm not asking you to risk anything. Ryan set his coffee down and met her eyes. I'm just asking you to be honest. Do you feel this too, or am I imagining it? Elena didn't answer right away. She looked down at her hands, then back at the ocean. I feel it, she said finally, her voice barely above a whisper, and it scares the hell out of me. Ryan exhaled slowly. Yeah, me too. So what do we do? I don't know, but running from it doesn't seem to be working. Elena almost smiled. No, it really doesn't. She stood up, brushing sand off her jeans. Okay, here's what we're going to do. We keep this quiet. No one at work can know. Not yet. We figure out what this is first, and then we decide how to handle it. Agreed. And we go slow. No rushing into anything. Fine. I mean it, Ryan. Slow. Ryan stood and faced her. I have a 6-year-old daughter and a life I've spent 3 years trying to stabilize. Trust me, I understand slow. Elena studied him for a long moment. Then she reached out and touched his hand just briefly, her fingers cool against his skin. Okay, she said. Let's see where this goes. They started meeting in the mornings before their shifts, always at the pier, always early enough that no one else was around. They'd sit on the hood of Elena's car and talk, about nothing important at first. Movies, music, books. The kind of surface-level conversation people have when they're trying to figure each other out. But slowly, the conversations went deeper. Elena told him about her parents, both academics who'd pushed her toward perfection her whole life, about the pressure she'd felt to excel at swimming, to be the best, to never fail, about how devastating it had been when her body betrayed her and took that dream away. "I think that's why I became a supervisor," she said one morning. "I needed to control something. If I couldn't control my own body, at least I could control my environment." "Does it work?" Ryan asked. "Sometimes, until someone like you shows up and throws everything off balance." Ryan told her about Jessica, about the shock of coming home to an empty apartment and a note that explained nothing, about the first few months of solo parenting, when he'd barely slept and constantly worried he was doing everything wrong. "Mia was 3, he said. "She kept asking where mommy went, and I didn't have an answer. Still don't, really. Jessica just left. No custody fight, no calls, nothing." "That's her loss," Elena said. "I used to think I did something wrong, that I wasn't enough." "You are enough, Ryan." The certainty in her voice made something in his chest crack open. 2 weeks into their morning meetings, Elena asked about Mia. "Tell me about her," she said. Ryan smiled without meaning to. "She's 6, obsessed with dinosaurs and sparkly things, which is a weird combination. Talks constantly. Asks about a million questions a day. Hates broccoli but loves spinach, which makes no sense. She sounds exhausting." "She is, but she's also the best thing I've ever done." Elena was quiet for a moment. "You're a good father." "I'm trying to be." "No, you are. I can tell." Ryan looked at her. "You ever think about having kids?" Elena shook her head. "Never really fit into my plans. I was always focused on my career, and now, I don't know. I'm 41. That ship might have sailed. Doesn't mean it's too late. Maybe. But I'm not sure I'd be any good at it." "You'd be better than you think." Elena gave him a skeptical look. "I'm not exactly warm and fuzzy, Carter." "No, but you're honest, and you're strong. Kids need that." She didn't respond, but Ryan saw something shift in her expression. Like maybe she was letting herself imagine it, just for a second. The morning meetings became the best part of Ryan's day. He found himself looking forward to them, counting down the hours until he could see Elena again. It was dangerous, this feeling, like standing at the edge of a cliff and leaning forward just to see how far the drop was. But he couldn't stop. At work, they maintained careful distance, professional, appropriate. Elena never came to Tower 3 unless there was a legitimate reason. Ryan never sought her out. To everyone else, they were just supervisor and employee. But sometimes, when no one was looking, their eyes would meet across the beach. And in those brief moments, Ryan felt like he could breathe for the first time in years. Derek noticed something was different. "You're in a weirdly good mood lately," he said one afternoon, climbing up to Ryan's tower during a break. "Am I?" "Yeah, it's disturbing. You're usually all serious and broody. Now you're like, almost happy." Ryan shrugged. "Maybe I'm just having a good week. Or maybe you met someone." Ryan's stomach dropped. "What?" "Relax, I'm just messing with you. But seriously, if you did meet someone, good for you. You deserve it." "Thanks, I guess." Derek grinned. "Just don't let it distract you from the job. Brooks would have your head." Ryan forced a laugh. "Yeah, she would." After Derek left, Ryan sat there feeling like a fraud. They were playing with fire, and eventually, someone was going to get burned. 3 weeks in, Elena suggested they do something outside of the early morning meetings. "Like what?" Ryan asked. "I don't know, something normal people do when they're whatever we are." "Are you asking me on a date?" Elena's cheeks flushed slightly. "Don't make it weird. You're literally asking me on a date." "Fine, yes, I'm asking you on a date. Happy?" Ryan grinned. "Very." "Don't gloat. It's unattractive." They decided on dinner at a small restaurant 2 towns over, far enough that no one from work would see them. Ryan arranged for Mrs. Calloway to watch Mia overnight, a first since the divorce. He felt guilty about it, but Mia was excited about the sleepover. "Where are you going, Daddy?" she asked while he got ready. "Just out with a friend." Is it a girlfriend or a boyfriend? Ryan paused, buttoning his shirt. A friend who's a girl. Mia's eyes went wide. Like a girlfriend? It's complicated, sweetheart. Do you like her? Ryan crouched down to Mia's level. Yeah, I do. Does she like dinosaurs? I don't know, I'll ask. Mia considered this very seriously. Okay, but if she doesn't like dinosaurs, I don't think you should marry her. Ryan laughed. Noted. The restaurant was quiet, tucked into a corner of a strip mall with dim lighting and booth seating. Elena was already there when Ryan arrived, wearing a dark blue dress that made her look softer somehow, less severe. You clean up nice, Ryan said, sliding into the booth across from her. So do you. They ordered wine, made small talk, but there was a tension underneath, a nervous energy that hadn't been there during their morning coffee meetings. This is weird, right? Elena said after their appetizers arrived. Extremely. I don't remember the last time I went on an actual date. I think it was 2019, maybe? Ryan raised an eyebrow. Seriously? I'm not good at this stuff. Relationships, vulnerability, all of it. You're doing fine. I almost canceled 3 times today. But you didn't. Elena met his eyes. No, I didn't. They fell into easier conversation after that. Elena told him about a terrible date she'd had years ago with a guy who'd spent the entire dinner talking about his CrossFit routine. Ryan told her about the time Mia had convinced him to have a tea party with her stuffed animals, and he'd accidentally sat on Mr. Whiskers the cat. You broke a stuffed animal? Elena asked, trying not to laugh. His head popped off. Mia cried for an hour. I had to emergency sew him back together at 11 p.m. Did he survive? Barely. He's got a weird lopsided head now, but Mia says it gives him character. Elena smiled, a real, genuine smile that transformed her entire face. You're a good dad, she said again. You keep saying that. Because it's true, and because I think you don't hear it enough. Ryan looked down at his plate, throat tight. After dinner, they walked along the beach in the next town over, shoes in hand, waves lapping at their feet. The moon was almost full, casting silver light across the water. Can I ask you something? Elena said. Sure. What do you want? Long term, I mean. What does your life look like in 5 years? Ryan thought about it. Honestly, I just want Mia to be happy, to feel stable and loved. Everything else is secondary. And what about you? What about me? What do you want for yourself? Not as a father, as Ryan. No one had asked him that in years. Ryan stopped walking and looked out at the ocean. I don't know, he said finally. I stopped thinking about that when Jessica left. It was all about survival after that, getting through each day, making sure Mia was okay. And now? Now? Ryan turned to face her. Now I think maybe I want something more. Elena stepped closer. Like what? Like this. Whatever this is. They stood there in the moonlight, close enough that Ryan could see the flecks of gold in her gray-green eyes. Close enough to kiss her. He wanted to. Every nerve in his body screamed at him to close the distance, to take the risk. But he didn't. Slow, he said quietly. Elena smiled. Slow. They walked back to the parking lot, hand in hand, and when Elena drove away, Ryan stood there watching her taillights disappear, feeling like he'd just jumped off a cliff and was still waiting to see if he'd land. The next morning, Ryan woke to a text from Elena. Last night was nice. Let's do it again, he typed back immediately. When? Whenever you can escape dad duty. Next Friday? It's a date. Literally. Ryan grinned like an idiot and went to make Mia breakfast. Over the next few weeks, they found a rhythm. Morning coffee twice a week. Dinner every Friday at a different out-of-the-way restaurant. Texts throughout the day. Nothing too personal, nothing that would raise suspicions if anyone saw, but enough to keep the connection alive. At work, they were flawless. Professional. Distant. Ryan watched Elena chew out another guard for a safety violation and felt a weird surge of pride. She was good at her job, respected, deserved every bit of authority she had. But he also saw the moments when the mask slipped, when her shoulder clearly hurt but she refused to acknowledge it, when she snapped at someone and immediately regretted it, when she stood alone at the edge of the water, staring out like she was searching for something she'd lost. Ryan wanted to know all of her, not just the controlled, competent supervisor, but the woman underneath, the one who'd lost her dream and built a new life from the wreckage. The one who was terrified of being vulnerable, but showed up anyway. One Friday night, after dinner, they drove to a quiet overlook north of the city. The view stretched for miles, city lights below, ocean beyond, stars overhead. They sat on the hood of Elena's car, shoulders touching. "Mia asked about you," Ryan said. Elena tensed slightly. "What did you tell her?" "That you're a friend. She wanted to know if you like dinosaurs." "And if I don't?" "Apparently that's a deal breaker." Elena laughed softly. "Good to know where I stand." "Do you?" "Like dinosaurs, I mean." "I'm neutral on dinosaurs. Is that acceptable?" "I'll run it by the committee." They sat in comfortable silence for a while. Then Elena said, "I want to meet her. Mia." Ryan's heart stuttered. "You do?" "Not yet. Not until we're sure about this, but eventually, if this goes where I think it might be going." "Where do you think it's going?" Elena turned to look at him. "Somewhere I didn't plan for. Somewhere that scares me. But somewhere I want to be anyway." Ryan reached for her hand. "Me too. We're going to have to tell people, eventually. At work, I mean." "I know. It's going to be complicated. There'll be paperwork, HR meetings, possible reassignments. We'll figure it out." "You sound sure." "I am." Elena studied his face. "How? How are you so sure?" "Because for the first time in 3 years, I feel like I'm not just surviving. I'm actually living, and I don't want to give that up." Elena's eyes glistened in the starlight. She leaned forward and pressed her forehead against his. "I don't want to give it up either," she whispered. Ryan cupped her face in his hands and kissed her. Soft at first, tentative, then deeper, with all the longing and fear and hope they'd been holding back. When they pulled apart, both breathless, Elena rested her head on his shoulder. "We're really doing this," she said. "Yeah, we are. It's going to be messy." "Probably. People are going to talk." "Let them." Elena lifted her head and looked at him. "You're different than I expected, Ryan Carter." "Good different or bad different?" "Good. Definitely good." They stayed at the Overlook until after midnight, talking and kissing and planning a future that felt both impossible and inevitable. When Ryan finally got home, Mia was asleep at Mrs. Calloway's, and the apartment was quiet. He sat on the couch with his phone, scrolling through the texts he and Elena had exchanged over the past month. Hundreds of messages, small glimpses into each other's lives, proof that something real was growing between them. His phone buzzed with a new message. "Thank you for tonight, for all of this. I know I'm not easy, but you make me want to try." Ryan typed back, "You're worth it. All of it." A pause. Then, "I'm falling for you, Ryan, and it terrifies me." Ryan's hand shook as he typed his response. "I'm falling for you too, and I'm done being terrified." He hit send and waited, his heart pounding. Elena's response came quickly. "Then let's fall together." Ryan stared at the message, feeling something shift inside him, something fundamental and permanent. He was in love with Elena Brooks, and for the first time since Jessica left, he believed in something beyond just getting through the day. He believed in possibility. But reality had a way of crashing in when you least expected it. And Ryan was about to learn that falling in love was the easy part. Keeping it was going to be a hell of a lot harder. The trouble started on a Tuesday morning in late July, when Ryan was least prepared for it. He'd arrived at the beach early, coffee in hand, feeling lighter than he had in months. Elena had texted him before dawn with a photo of the sunrise from her balcony and a message that simply said, "Thinking of you." It was a small thing, but it had carried him through the morning routine with Mia, through the drive to work, through the climb up to Tower 3. He was scanning the water, noting the unusually strong currents, when Derek's voice crackled over the radio. "Hey, Carter, you seen someone or something?" Ryan's blood went cold. He grabbed the radio. "What?" "The Riptide markers. They're not up. Did you see someone moving them?" Relief flooded through him so fast he almost laughed. "No, I'll check it out." "Cool. Hey, speaking of seeing someone, you've been acting weird lately, like happy weird. It's freaking me out." "Just focus on your section, Derek." Ryan climbed down from the tower, trying to slow his racing heart. He was being paranoid. Nobody knew. They'd been so careful, but careful didn't mean invisible. He was adjusting the riptide warning flags when he heard footsteps behind him. He turned, expecting Derek or one of the other guards. It was Marcus Webb, the assistant supervisor, mid-30s, competent, and notorious for kissing up to management while throwing everyone else under the bus. "Carter," Marcus said, his smile not reaching his eyes. "Got a minute?" "Kind of busy." "Yeah, I can see that. Fixing Derek's screw-up again?" Ryan shrugged. "Just doing the job." "Right. The job." Marcus folded his arms. "You know what's interesting? I've been noticing something lately." Ryan's gut tightened. "What's that?" "Brooks has been coming to the beach a lot more often, almost every day for the past month. That's unusual for her. She usually stays at the office." "Maybe she's just being thorough." "Maybe. Or maybe she's got a reason to be here." Marcus stepped closer, lowering his voice. "You two seem pretty friendly." "She's my supervisor. I'm professional." "Oh, I know. Very professional. Except I saw her car at the pier parking lot last Friday at 6 a.m. And then I saw your truck pull in 2 minutes later." Ryan's heart slammed against his ribs, but he kept his face neutral. "So?" "So that's a weird coincidence. And then there's the fact that you've been leaving exactly at 4 p.m. every Friday for the past 6 weeks, like clockwork. Never did that before." "I have a kid. I'm allowed to have a schedule." "Sure. Absolutely." Marcus smiled wider. "I'm just saying, people notice things. And if there's something going on that shouldn't be going on, well, that's a problem. For both of you." Ryan wanted to grab Marcus by the collar and throw him into the ocean. Instead, he took a breath and met the man's eyes. "There's nothing going on," he said evenly. "And even if there was, it wouldn't be any of your business. Actually, it would be. Fraternization between supervisors and subordinates violates company policy. You know that, right? I know you should focus on your own job instead of making up stories about other people's lives." Marcus raised his hands in mock surrender. "Hey, I'm not making anything up. I'm just observing. But you might want to be more careful, because if I've noticed, other people probably have too." He walked away, leaving Ryan standing there with his pulse hammering in his ears. Ryan finished adjusting the flags and climbed back into his tower, but he couldn't focus. His mind was racing. Had they been that obvious? What had Marcus actually seen? And more importantly, what was he going to do with the information? At noon, Elena showed up for her usual beach inspection. She walked the perimeter, checked in with each tower, made notes on her clipboard. When she reached Tower 3, she barely glanced at Ryan. "Everything good here, Carter?" "Yes, ma'am." She started to walk away, then paused. "Actually, can you swing by my office after your shift? I need to discuss the new safety protocols." It was a perfectly reasonable request, professional, appropriate, but Ryan saw the tension in her shoulders, the slight tightness around her eyes. "Sure," he said. 4:30 work? Perfect." She left without another word. Ryan spent the rest of his shift trying not to panic. Marcus had clearly said something to her, or maybe she'd noticed the looks they were getting, or maybe she'd just realized how risky this whole thing was and was about to end it before it could blow up in both their faces. By the time 4:30 rolled around, Ryan felt sick. Elena's office was in the main lifeguard station, a small room with a desk, filing cabinets, and a window overlooking the parking lot. When Ryan knocked, she called for him to come in without looking up from her computer. He closed the door behind him. "Lock it," Elena said quietly. Ryan did. Elena finally looked at him, and he saw the worry etched into her face. "Marcus knows," she said. "He confronted me this morning. Started asking questions about why you've been coming to the beach more often, about us being at the pier. He came to me an hour ago, didn't outright accuse us of anything, but he heavily implied that he's concerned about potential policy violations." Ryan sank into the chair across from her desk. "What do we do?" Elena leaned back, rubbing her temples. "I don't know. If he files a formal complaint, there'll be an investigation. HR will get involved. It'll get ugly. Can he prove anything?" "He doesn't need proof, just enough suspicion to trigger a review." She looked at him, her expression strained. "Ryan, I could lose my job. You could lose yours. And I know you can't afford that with Mia. We haven't done anything wrong. We're in a relationship. I'm your direct supervisor. That's a clear conflict of interest. Then we go to HR ourselves. Disclose it, handle it the right way. Elena shook her head. It's not that simple. Even if we disclose, one of us would have to transfer. And there aren't any open supervisor positions at other beaches right now, which means I'd either have to step down or you'd have to quit. The weight of it settled over Ryan like a heavy blanket. He'd known this moment would come eventually, but he'd let himself believe they had more time. So what are you saying? He asked quietly. Elena met his eyes, and he saw the conflict there. The fear, the exhaustion. I'm saying maybe we moved too fast. Maybe we should have waited until... Until when? Until it was convenient? Until there was no risk? Until we were sure it was worth the risk. Ryan stood up, anger flaring in his chest. You're not sure? After everything? That's not what I meant. Then what did you mean, Elena? Because it sounds like you're looking for an excuse to bail. I'm trying to be realistic. I've worked for 15 years to build this career. I can't just throw it away for... She stopped herself, but the damage was done. For what? Ryan said, his voice hard. For me? For us? Just say it. Elena stood too, her own frustration breaking through. That's not fair. None of this is fair. You think I planned for this? You think I wanted to fall for someone who could cost me my job and my ability to provide for my daughter? Then maybe we should stop before it gets worse. The words hung in the air between them, sharp and cutting. Ryan stared at her, feeling like he'd been punched in the gut. Is that what you want? He asked quietly. Elena looked away, her jaw tight. I don't know what I want. I just know that I'm terrified of losing everything I've built. And I'm not? You have Mia. You have a purpose beyond your career. I don't have that. This job is all I have. Ryan felt the anger drain out of him, replaced by something sadder. That's not true. Yes, it is. And I can't risk it. Not even for you. The silence that followed was deafening. Ryan turned toward the door, his hand on the lock. So that's it? Marcus makes a few implications, and you just fold? I'm being practical. You're being scared. Maybe I am. Elena's voice cracked. Maybe I'm terrified because I finally let someone in and now I'm watching it all fall apart. Ryan turned back. Elena was standing with her arms wrapped around herself, her eyes bright with unshed tears. I don't want to lose you, she said, her voice barely above a whisper. But I don't know how to keep you without losing myself. Ryan walked back to her, slowly. When he reached her, he gently took her hands. You won't lose yourself, he said. We'll figure this out, together. How? I don't know yet, but giving up isn't the answer. Elena looked up at him, searching his face. What if it's the smart answer? When have we ever done the smart thing? She almost smiled at that. Almost. Then her radio crackled. Brooks, we've got a situation. Multiple swimmers in distress, South Cove, need all units. Elena grabbed the radio, her training kicking in instantly. On my way. Carter, you're with me. They ran. The South Cove was chaos when they arrived. A family reunion had turned into a nightmare. A group of kids had ventured too far out and gotten caught in a strong current. Parents were screaming from the shore. Other guards were already in the water, but there were too many kids and not enough hands. Ryan didn't hesitate. He dove in, swimming hard toward the nearest cluster of struggling swimmers. 2 kids, maybe 10 and 12, both panicking. I've got you, Ryan shouted, grabbing the younger one. Hold on to me. The kid wrapped his arms around Ryan's neck in a death grip. Ryan tried to pry him loose enough to breathe while also reaching for the older kid, but the current was vicious. Then Elena was there, grabbing the older kid with her good arm. Go, she shouted to Ryan. I've got this one. Ryan started swimming back, the younger kid clinging to him like a barnacle. His shoulders burned. His lungs screamed, but he pushed through, fighting the current until his feet finally touched sand. He handed the kid off to a paramedic and turned back. Elena was struggling. Her bad shoulder was clearly failing, and the kid she was trying to save was thrashing in panic, making everything worse. Ryan dove back in without thinking. He reached them just as Elena's grip started to slip. The pain on her face was unmistakable. She'd pushed too far, tried to be stronger than her body would allow. Let go, Ryan said. I've got him. I can... Elena, let go! She did. her face twisted in agony as she clutched her shoulder. Ryan grabbed the kid and started swimming, but he could hear Elena behind him, her breathing harsh and labored. She was in trouble. He got the kid to shore and immediately turned back for Elena. She was barely keeping her head above water, her left arm useless at her side. Ryan reached her and wrapped his arm around her waist. "I've got you." "I'm fine," she gasped, but she wasn't. She was pale, shaking, clearly in shock from the pain. "Stop being stubborn and let me help you." For once, she didn't argue. Ryan towed her back to shore where the paramedics immediately took over. One of them tried to check Elena's shoulder, but she waved him off. "I'm fine. Check the kids first." "Ma'am, you're clearly injured." "The kids! Now!" The paramedic backed off, and Elena struggled to her feet, still cradling her left arm. Ryan stood beside her, ready to catch her if she collapsed. All the swimmers were accounted for. Shaken, scared, but alive. Marcus appeared from somewhere, his face red. "What the hell happened? Who authorized this many people in the water during a current warning?" "They ignored the flags," one of the other guards said. "Then why weren't there more guards on this section?" "There were enough guards," Elena said, her voice cold despite the pain she was clearly in. "The swimmers made poor choices. We responded appropriately." "You're injured. Again, that's twice in 2 months, Brooks. Maybe you're not fit for active duty anymore." The accusation hung in the air. Ryan saw red. "She saved a kid's life," he said, stepping toward Marcus. "Show some respect." "I wasn't talking to you, Carter." "I don't care. You want to criticize someone. Criticize the idiots who can't read a warning flag. Don't go after someone who just risked her life to save theirs." Marcus's eyes narrowed. "Interesting. You're awfully defensive of your supervisor." "I'm defensive of anyone who does the right thing." "Right." Marcus smiled that same oily smile from this morning. "Well, I'm sure HR will find your loyalty noteworthy." He walked away and Ryan wanted to chase after him, but Elena grabbed his arm with her good hand. "Don't," she said quietly. "You're just making it worse. He's a piece of—" "I know, but right now we need to focus on damage control." The paramedics finally convinced Elena to let them examine her shoulder. The prognosis wasn't good. She'd retorn the rotator cuff, possibly worse than before. They wanted her to go to the hospital immediately. "I need to finish my shift," Elena said. "Ma'am, you need medical attention." "After my shift." Ryan pulled her aside, lowering his voice. "Elena, you're hurt. Go to the hospital." "I can't. Not now. Not with Marcus watching." You think he cares?" "I think he's looking for any excuse to say I'm unfit for duty. And if I leave now, that's exactly what he'll say." Ryan wanted to argue, but he saw the determination in her eyes. She wasn't going to budge. "Fine," he said, "but I'm driving you to the hospital after shift ends. No arguments." Elena nodded, too exhausted to fight. The rest of the shift passed in a tense blur. Ryan returned to his tower, but he kept one eye on Elena the whole time, watching for signs that she was about to collapse. She moved through her duties with mechanical precision, her face carefully blank, her injured arm held tight against her body. When 4:30 finally came, Ryan climbed down from Tower 3 and headed straight for Elena's office. She was sitting at her desk, filling out incident reports one-handed. "Let's go," Ryan said. "I need to finish—" "No, you need to get that shoulder looked at before you do permanent damage." Elena started to argue, then seemed to deflate. "Okay." They drove to the hospital in silence, Elena cradling her arm, her face gray with pain. Ryan wanted to say something comforting, but he didn't know what. Everything felt fragile right now, like one wrong word could shatter what little they had left. At the hospital, they waited for 2 hours in the emergency room before a doctor finally saw Elena. Ryan sat in the waiting area, scrolling mindlessly through his phone, trying not to think about what came next. Elena emerged an hour later with her arm in a sling and a prescription for painkillers. "Well?" Ryan asked. "Full tear, needs surgery. I'm out for at least 3 months." Ryan's stomach sank. 3 months? Minimum. Could be longer depending on how the recovery goes. They walked to the car in silence. Ryan helped Elena into the passenger seat, then got behind the wheel. "Where to?" he asked. "Home, I guess." Ryan started driving, but halfway there, Elena spoke again. "This is it, isn't it? The universe telling us this was a bad idea from the start." Don't say that. Why not? I'm injured, again. Marcus is building a case against both of us. My career is hanging by a thread. What part of this screams good idea to you? Ryan pulled over into a parking lot and turned to face her. The part where I'm in love with you, he said. Elena stared at him, her eyes wide. I'm in love with you, Elena. And I don't care if it's inconvenient or risky or completely insane. I'm done pretending this is just some casual thing we can walk away from. Ryan, you said you were falling for me. Did you mean it? Elena's eyes filled with tears. Yes. Then we fight for this. We go to HR tomorrow. We disclose everything. We deal with the consequences, but we don't give up. What if they fire us both? Then we'll figure it out, together. Elena looked down at her injured arm, then back at Ryan. You're willing to risk everything? I already did, the moment I raced you into that ocean. A tear slipped down her cheek. I'm scared. Me too. But I'd rather be scared with you than safe without you. Elena reached for his hand with her good arm, holding on tight. Okay, she whispered. We fight. Ryan leaned over and kissed her forehead. We fight. They sat there in the parking lot for a long time, holding on to each other like they were the only solid things in a world that had just tilted sideways. And maybe they were. The HR office smelled like stale coffee and anxiety. Ryan sat in a plastic chair that squeaked every time he shifted his weight, his hands clasped between his knees, trying to look calmer than he felt. Elena sat beside him, her injured arm still in a sling, her spine straight despite the pain he knew she was in. Across the desk sat Patricia Moreno, the regional HR director, a woman in her 50s with reading glasses on a chain and an expression that gave nothing away. So, Patricia said, clicking her pen, you're here to disclose a romantic relationship between a supervisor and a direct report. Yes, ma'am, Elena said. How long has this been going on? Ryan glanced at Elena. They'd agreed to be completely honest, but sitting here under Patricia's steady gaze made him want to minimize everything. About 2 months, Elena said. We've been seeing each other outside of work. We've maintained complete professionalism on the job. Until yesterday, when you both participated in a rescue operation that resulted in your injury. That was my job, Elena said. I would have done the same thing regardless of my relationship with Ryan. Patricia made a note. And Mr. Carter, you went back into the water specifically to help Miss Brooks, correct? Ryan's jaw tightened. I went back because she was in distress. I would have done that for any of my colleagues. But Miss Brooks isn't just a colleague, is she? No, Ryan admitted. She's not. Patricia set down her pen and folded her hands. I appreciate your honesty in coming forward. However, you both understand that this represents a clear conflict of interest under company policy. We understand, Elena said. That's why we're here. We want to handle this the right way. The right way would have been to disclose this relationship before it began, or better yet, to avoid it entirely. Ryan felt heat rising in his chest, but Elena's hand brushed against his, a warning to stay quiet. You're right, Elena said evenly. We should have come to you sooner, but we're here now and we're asking for guidance on how to proceed. Patricia studied them both for a long moment. There are a few options. Ms. Brooks, you could step down from your supervisor role and take a lateral position at another location. Mr. Carter, you could transfer to a different beach entirely. Or one of you could resign. The word hung in the air like a guillotine blade. There's no option where we both keep our current positions? Ryan asked. Not while you're in a relationship, no. The conflict of interest is too significant. Elena's face was carefully neutral, but Ryan saw the muscle ticking in her jaw. I'll transfer, Ryan said. Ryan? Elena started. I'll transfer, he repeated, looking at Patricia. Is there an opening at any of the other beaches? Patricia consulted her computer. There's an opening at North Point. It's about 40 minutes from here. Same pay grade, same position. You'd report to a different supervisor. I'll take it. You don't have to decide right now. I'm deciding now. Elena turned to him, her eyes fierce. We should talk about this first. There's nothing to talk about. You've worked too hard to give up your position. I can transfer. And what about Mia? An extra 40 minutes each way means less time with her. I'll figure it out. Ryan, this is my choice, Elena. Patricia cleared her throat. Perhaps you two should take some time to discuss this privately before making any final decisions. I don't need time, Ryan said. When can I start at North Point? Patricia looked between them, clearly sensing the tension. I'd need to process the paperwork, probably next week at the earliest. Fine, I'll work my notice at Crescent Bay and start at North Point next Monday. Ryan, stop, Elena said, her voice tight. This isn't just your decision. Actually, it is. It's my job. My choice. Elena stood abruptly, wincing as the movement jarred her shoulder. Can we have a moment alone? Patricia nodded. Take your time. I'll be back in 10 minutes. She left the office, closing the door behind her. Elena turned on Ryan the moment they were alone. What the hell are you doing? Fixing the problem. By sacrificing your job? It's not a sacrifice, it's a lateral move. 40 minutes away from Mia, 40 minutes away from everything you've built here. Ryan stood to face her. And what's the alternative? You step down? You give up 15 years of work because we fell in love? Maybe that's exactly what I should do. No. You don't get to make that choice for me. And you don't get to martyr yourself because you're scared. They stared at each other, both breathing hard, the air between them crackling with frustration and fear. I'm not scared, Elena said quietly. I'm trying to be practical. Practical would have been not falling for me in the first place. But we're past that now. Elena's eyes glistened. You're going to resent me for this. Maybe not now, but eventually. When you're driving 80 minutes a day, when you're missing Mia's bedtimes, when you realize what you gave up. Ryan stepped closer, cupping her face with both hands. I won't, because I'm not giving anything up. I'm choosing you. There's a difference. Ryan, I love you, Elena, and I'm not letting this job or Marcus or anyone else take that away from us. A tear slipped down her cheek. I love you too. That's why this is so hard. I know, but we're going to get through it. Patricia returned exactly 10 minutes later, knocking softly before entering. Have you reached a decision? Ryan looked at Elena. She held his gaze for a long moment, then nodded almost imperceptibly. I'll take the transfer to North Point, Ryan said, as soon as possible. Patricia made a note. Very well. I'll process the paperwork today. You'll start at North Point next Monday. In the meantime, Ms. Brooks, you're on medical leave for your shoulder recovery, correct? Yes. 3 months minimum. That should help with the transition. By the time you return to work, Mr. Carter will be established at his new location, and the conflict of interest will be resolved. What about Marcus Webb? Elena asked. He's been making implications about our relationship. Is he going to be a problem? Patricia's expression hardened slightly. Mr. Webb has filed a preliminary complaint, yes. However, given that you've proactively disclosed your relationship and are taking steps to remedy the situation, his complaint has no grounds. I'll be speaking with him about appropriate professional conduct. Ryan felt a small surge of satisfaction at that. Thank you, Elena said. One more thing, Patricia said, looking directly at Ryan. I want to be clear. This transfer is voluntary on your part. If at any point you feel you were coerced or pressured into this decision, you have the right to file a grievance. I wasn't coerced, Ryan said firmly. This is what I want. Patricia nodded. Then we're done here. I'll email you both the transfer paperwork by end of day. They left the office together, neither speaking until they reached Elena's car in the parking lot. I need to tell Mia, Ryan said. Elena leaned against the car, looking exhausted. How much are you going to tell her? The truth, that I'm changing jobs, that it means longer hours, that it's because of you. Ryan, she needs to know, Elena. She's going to figure it out anyway. Kids aren't stupid. Elena closed her eyes. She's going to hate me. No, she's not. I'm the reason her dad is working farther away, the reason he has less time with her. You're also the reason I'm happy for the first time in years. She'll see that. Elena didn't look convinced, but she didn't argue. Ryan drove her home, helped her inside, made sure she took her pain medication. They stood in her kitchen, the afternoon light slanting through the windows, both of them wrung out and exhausted. Stay, Elena said quietly, just for a little while. Ryan texted Mrs. Calloway that he'd be late, then pulled Elena into his arms, careful of her shoulder. She rested her head against his chest, and he felt her breathing slowly steady. "We're going to be okay," he said. "Promise?" "Promise." But even as he said it, Ryan wondered if he was lying to both of them. That evening, Ryan sat down with Mia at the kitchen table. She was coloring a picture of a T-Rex wearing a tutu, completely absorbed in getting the purple exactly right. "Hey, kiddo," Ryan said. "I need to talk to you about something." Mia looked up, sensing the seriousness in his tone. "Am I in trouble?" "No, not at all, but I need to tell you something important. Starting next week, I'm going to be working at a different beach. It's farther away, which means I'll have to leave a little earlier in the morning and get home a little later at night." Mia's face fell. "Why?" "Because it's a good opportunity, and because, well, remember the friend I told you about? The one who's a girl?" "Your girlfriend?" Ryan smiled despite himself. "Yeah, my girlfriend. Her name is Elena. And because we're dating, I can't work at the same place as her anymore. It's a rule." "That's a stupid rule." "I know it seems that way, but it's to make sure everything's fair at work." Mia considered this, her crayon hovering over the T-Rex. "Do you really like her?" "Yeah, I really do. More than you liked Mommy." The question hit Ryan harder than he expected. He took a breath. "I liked your mom very much once, but Elena is different. She makes me happy in a way I haven't been in a long time." "Does she like dinosaurs?" Ryan laughed. "I asked her. She said she's neutral on dinosaurs." Mia frowned. "What does neutral mean?" "It means she doesn't love them, but she doesn't hate them either." "I guess that's okay." Mia went back to coloring. "Can I meet her?" Ryan's chest tightened. "Do you want to?" "If she's your girlfriend, I should probably meet her. That's what people do, right?" "Yeah, that's what people do." "Okay, but if she's mean to you, I'm going to tell her to leave." Ryan pulled Mia into a hug. "Deal." Later that night, after Mia was asleep, Ryan texted Elena. "She wants to meet you." Elena's response came quickly. "When?" "Whenever you're ready." "No pressure. I'm terrified. She's 6. What's the worst that could happen?" "She could hate me." "She won't. She's already approved you based on your neutral stance on dinosaurs. That's a relief." "I think." "How's the shoulder?" "Hurts like hell. Surgery's scheduled for Friday." "You need anything?" "Just you." "But you're with Mia. I can come over after she's asleep." "You don't have to do that." "I know, but I want to." Ryan drove to Elena's apartment around 10 p.m. after confirming that Mrs. Calloway could stay with Mia. Elena answered the door in sweatpants and an oversized t-shirt, her hair down for once, her face free of makeup. She looked younger this way, more vulnerable. "Hey," she said. "Hey." They moved to the couch, Elena curling up against him with her good arm. Ryan wrapped his arm around her and they sat in comfortable silence for a while. "I'm scared about the surgery," Elena admitted. "It's going to be fine. What if it doesn't work? What if I lose even more mobility?" "Then we'll deal with it, together." Elena tilted her head to look at him. "You keep saying that. Together. Like it's simple." "It is simple. Everything else is just noise." "I wish I had your certainty." "You don't need certainty. You just need to trust me." Elena kissed him, slow and gentle. When she pulled back, her eyes were serious. "I do trust you. That's what scares me most. I've never trusted anyone like this before." "Good, because I'm not going anywhere." They spent the night on her couch, talking about nothing and everything. Ryan told her about Mia's latest obsession with volcanoes. Elena told him about the time she'd almost made the Olympic trials before her injury. They talked about their childhoods, their failures, their fears. By the time Ryan left around 2 a.m., he felt like he knew Elena in a way he'd never known anyone, not even Jessica. The week before the transfer was strange. Ryan worked his final shifts at Crescent Bay, knowing he'd probably never stand in Tower 3 again. The other guards threw him a casual goodbye party, burgers and beer after work, everyone pretending it was no big deal. Derek pulled him aside. "So, you and Brooks, huh?" Ryan tensed. "What?" "Relax, man. I'm not going to say anything, but it's kind of obvious now that I'm actually paying attention. How obvious? Let's just say the way you looked at each other during that rescue wasn't exactly professional. Ryan sighed. We're handling it. That's why I'm transferring. Good for you. She seems intense, but like, in a good way. If you're into that. I am. Very much. Derek grinned. Then go get her, Romeo. Just maybe don't race her into any more riptides. No promises. On Friday, Ryan took the day off to drive Elena to her surgery. She was nervous, more than he'd ever seen her good hand gripping his tightly as they sat in the pre-op waiting room. What if something goes wrong? She asked. It won't. You don't know that. I know the surgeon is one of the best in the state. I know you're strong, and I know you're going to come through this fine. And if I don't? Ryan leaned over and kissed her forehead. Then I'll be right here when you wake up. Either way. They called her back, and Ryan waited in the family area for 3 hours, drinking terrible hospital coffee and trying not to think about all the things that could go wrong. When the surgeon finally came out, Ryan stood so fast he nearly knocked over his chair. She did great, the doctor said. The repair went exactly as planned. She'll be in recovery for about an hour, then you can see her. Relief flooded through Ryan so powerfully his knees almost buckled. Thank you. Elena was groggy when he finally got to see her, her left shoulder heavily bandaged, an IV in her good arm, but she smiled when she saw him. Hey, she mumbled. Hey yourself, how do you feel? Like I got hit by a truck, a very professional, medically licensed truck. Ryan laughed and took her hand. The doctor said it went perfectly. Good. That's good. Her eyes started to close. Ryan? Yeah? I'm glad you're here. Me too. And I'm glad you're my person now. Is that weird to say? No, it's perfect. Elena squeezed his hand. Don't let me say anything embarrassing while I'm drugged. Too late. You just confessed your undying love for me in front of 3 nurses. Damn. And you sang part of a Taylor Swift song. I did not. You absolutely did. Elena tried to glare at him but couldn't manage it through the anesthesia haze. You're making that up. Maybe, but you'll never know for sure. She fell asleep still holding his hand, and Ryan sat there watching her breathe, feeling like maybe, just maybe, they were going to make it through this after all. Elena's recovery was slow and frustrating. Physical therapy sessions that left her exhausted and in pain. Nights where she couldn't sleep because of the ache in her shoulder. Days where she felt useless and defeated. Ryan was there for all of it. He drove her to appointments, helped her with exercises, held her when she cried from frustration. And slowly, over the weeks, Elena started to heal. On a Saturday afternoon, 3 weeks after the surgery, Ryan brought Mia to meet her. He'd warned Elena in advance, given her time to prepare. But when he knocked on her door with Mia beside him, holding a hand-drawn card, Elena still looked terrified. Hi, Elena said, opening the door. Hi, Mia said solemnly, studying Elena with serious eyes. Then she held out the card. I made this for you. Daddy said you had surgery. Elena took the card with her good hand. It was a crayon drawing of what appeared to be a dinosaur wearing a nurse's hat. That's Terry the T-Rex, Mia explained. He's a Dr. Dinosaur. He makes people better. He's wonderful, Elena said, and Ryan could hear the emotion in her voice. Thank you, Mia. You're welcome. Can I see your arm? Elena glanced at Ryan, who shrugged. She carefully moved her sling to show Mia the bandages. Mia inspected it seriously. Does it hurt? Sometimes, but it's getting better. That's good. Daddy said you're really brave. Did he? Yeah. He said you saved people even though you were hurt. That's what heroes do. Elena's eyes met Ryan's over Mia's head, and he saw them glisten. Well, Elena said, crouching down to Mia's level, your dad is pretty brave too, and he's a really good dad. I know, Mia said matter-of-factly. He's the best. He is. Mia tilted her head. Do you like him? Very much. Good. Because if you didn't, I was going to have to ask you to leave. Elena laughed, a real, genuine laugh. That's fair. I respect that. Do you want to see my dinosaur collection? I would love to. Mia grabbed Elena's good hand and started pulling her toward the living room, chattering about her favorite dinosaurs. Ryan followed, his heart so full it hurt. They spent the afternoon together, the three of them, and it felt natural in a way Ryan hadn't expected. Elena asked Mia questions and actually listened to the answers. Mia showed off her toys and didn't seem bothered by Elena's injury. They ate pizza on the floor and watched a nature documentary about prehistoric creatures. When it was time to leave, Mia hugged Elena carefully, mindful of her shoulder. "Can we come back?" Mia asked. "Anytime you want," Elena said. In the car on the way home, Mia was quiet for a while. Then she said, "I like her, Daddy." Ryan glanced in the rear-view mirror. "Yeah? Yeah, she's nice. And she didn't pretend to like dinosaurs just to be nice. She was honest." "That's one of the things I like about her, too." "Are you going to marry her?" Ryan nearly swerved. "What? Are you going to marry her? That's what people do when they love each other, right?" "Well, yeah, sometimes, but we haven't been together very long yet." "But you love her, right?" Ryan pulled up to a red light and turned to look at his daughter. "Yeah, kiddo, I do." "Then you should probably marry her before someone else does." Ryan laughed. "I'll keep that in mind." That night, after Mia was asleep, Ryan lay in bed thinking about what his daughter had said. Marriage. It seemed impossible, too fast, too much, but it also felt inevitable. He texted Elena, "Mia thinks I should marry you. She's very practical for a 6-year-old. Is that a yes or a no?" "To what exactly?" "To the hypothetical question of whether you'd marry me if I hypothetically asked." "Are you proposing over text, Carter?" "No, just testing the waters. The waters are warm, but maybe wait until we've been together longer than 2 months." "Fair. But for the record, if you did ask, hypothetically, I'd probably say yes." Ryan stared at the message, his heart racing. "Noted. Now stop texting me and get some sleep. You have a long drive tomorrow." She was right. Monday was his first day at North Point. New beach, new team, new everything. But as Ryan closed his eyes, he wasn't thinking about the changes ahead. He was thinking about the future. About Elena. About Mia. About a family that was slowly becoming whole. And for the first time since Jessica left, Ryan believed in happy endings again. North Point was different from Crescent Bay in ways Ryan hadn't anticipated. The beach was rockier, the water colder, the crowd smaller. His new supervisor, Tom Garrett, was a laid-back guy in his 50s who'd been doing this job longer than Ryan had been alive. The other guards were friendly enough, but Ryan was the outsider, the guy who'd transferred in from somewhere else for reasons nobody quite understood. He didn't tell them about Elena, didn't mention why he'd left Crescent Bay, just showed up, did his work, and drove home. The commute was brutal. 40 minutes each way turned into an hour when traffic was bad, which was most days. Ryan left the house before Mia woke up and got home just in time for dinner. Mrs. Calloway's hours increased. The grocery bills went up. Everything cost more. Time, money, energy. But when Elena texted him during his lunch break, or when he saw her on weekends, Ryan remembered why he'd made this choice. It was worth it. Mostly. 2 months into the new job, Ryan sat in his truck in the North Point parking lot, too exhausted to drive home. His phone rang. "Elena." "Hey," he answered. "You sound tired." "Long day. Had 3 rescues, a jellyfish incident, and Tom asked me to train the new kid who doesn't know the difference between a riptide and a regular current." Elena laughed softly. "Sounds familiar." "How's the shoulder?" "Better. Physical therapy is still hell, but I'm getting some range of motion back." "That's good." A pause. Then Elena said, "You okay? You sound off." Ryan leaned his head back against the seat. "Just tired. It's a lot of driving." "I know. I'm sorry." "Don't be. This was my choice." "Doesn't mean it's not hard." Ryan closed his eyes. "I miss you." "I miss you too. When can I see you?" "This weekend? Saturday afternoon?" "I'll be there. Bring Mia. I'll make us dinner." "You sure? Your arm?" "I can manage spaghetti one-handed, and Mia can help me." Ryan smiled. "She'd love that." "Then it's a date. Now go home and get some sleep." "Yes, ma'am." Elena's laugh was the last thing he heard before she hung up. Saturday came, and Ryan drove to Elena's apartment with Mia chattering in the back seat about a book she'd read about volcanoes. Elena met them at the door wearing an apron and a smile. her arm still in a lighter sling but moving more freely than before. "Hey, you two," she said. Mia ran inside and immediately started inspecting Elena's kitchen. "Can I help cook?" "Absolutely. I need someone to stir the sauce." Ryan watched them work together. Elena showing Mia how to hold the spoon, Mia concentrating so hard her tongue stuck out between her teeth. Something in his chest expanded, warm and solid. This was what family felt like. After dinner, Mia crashed on Elena's couch watching a movie, and Ryan and Elena sat on the balcony with coffee, watching the sun set over the ocean in the distance. "She's getting attached to you," Ryan said quietly. "Is that a problem?" "No, but if this doesn't work out, it's going to work out." Ryan looked at her. "How do you know?" Elena set down her coffee and took his hand. "Because I've never wanted anything to work out more in my life. Because when I wake up, you're the first person I think about. Because when Mia helps me cook, I feel like I'm part of something I never knew I was missing." Ryan's throat tightened. "Elena, I'm not good at this," she continued, "at being vulnerable, at letting people in. But you and Mia, you've changed something in me, and I don't want to go back to who I was before." Ryan pulled her closer, careful of her shoulder. "You're not going back. We're moving forward, together." "Together," Elena echoed, and kissed him. They stayed on the balcony until the stars came out, talking about the future in a way that felt real instead of hypothetical. Elena would return to work in another month. Ryan was settling into North Point. Mia was thriving despite the changes. Everything was working out. And then Marcus Webb filed another complaint. Ryan got the call from Patricia Moreno on a Tuesday morning while he was on his way to work. "Mr. Carter, we need to schedule a meeting. Mr. Webb has submitted additional documentation regarding your relationship with Miss Brooks." Ryan's stomach dropped. "What kind of documentation?" "Photos. Time-stamped images of your vehicle at Miss Brooks' apartment complex at various times over the past 2 months. He's claiming the relationship is ongoing and that your transfer was insufficient to resolve the conflict of interest." "We're not working together anymore. There is no conflict." "I understand. However, Mr. Webb is arguing that you received preferential treatment during the transfer process and that Ms. Brooks influenced the decision." "That's bullshit. I requested the transfer. Elena had nothing to do with it." "Nevertheless, we need to address this formally. Can you come in Friday at 2 p.m.? Ryan wanted to scream. Instead, he said, "I'll be there." He called Elena immediately after hanging up with Patricia. "Marcus is at it again," he said without preamble. "What did he do now?" "He's been taking photos of my truck at your place. Submitted them to HR. They want to meet Friday." Elena was silent for a moment. Then, quietly, "I'm going to kill him. Get in line." "Ryan, this is my fault. I should have—" "Don't. This is Marcus being a vindictive asshole. It has nothing to do with you. He's doing this because I rejected him." Ryan's hand tightened on the steering wheel. "What?" "Years ago, before you. He asked me out, I said no, and he's held a grudge ever since. This is his revenge." "Then we tell HR that. We file a counter-complaint for harassment. We can't prove it. So we just let him keep coming after us?" Elena sighed. "No. We fight back. But we do it smart." Friday's meeting was tense. Marcus sat across from them, his expression smug, a folder of printed photos in front of him. Patricia looked tired, like she was already regretting getting involved in this mess. "Mr. Webb," Patricia said, "you've submitted evidence that Mr. Carter and Miss Brooks are still in a relationship despite the transfer. Is that correct?" "Yes. These photos show his vehicle at her residence on multiple occasions over the past 8 weeks. And your concern is that the transfer was a smokescreen. They're still together, which means the conflict of interest was never actually resolved." Patricia turned to Ryan and Elena. "Is the relationship ongoing?" "Yes," Ryan said, "but I'm not her employee anymore. I work at a different beach under a different supervisor. There's no conflict." "The conflict," Marcus said, "is that she still holds influence over his career. She could make recommendations, put in good words, use her position to benefit him." "That's absurd," Elena said. "I have no authority over North Point operations." "But you have connections, influence, and you're using this relationship for personal gain." Elena's face went cold. "Personal gain. That's your argument. It's a valid concern. No, it's a desperate attempt to sabotage a relationship because I turned you down 3 years ago. The room went silent. Marcus's face flushed red. That has nothing to do with... You asked me out in 2022. I said no. You've had a problem with me ever since, and now that I'm in a relationship with someone else, you're trying to destroy it. That's a serious accusation, Ms. Brooks, Patricia said. It's the truth. And I have witnesses who can confirm that Marcus has made inappropriate comments about my personal life on multiple occasions. Marcus stood abruptly. This is ridiculous. I'm filing a complaint based on legitimate policy violations, and you're turning it into some kind of personal vendetta. Because that's exactly what it is, Ryan said, standing as well. You don't care about policy. You care about hurting Elena, and I'm not going to sit here and let you do that. Patricia held up a hand. Everyone sit down, now. They did, reluctantly. Patricia took off her glasses and rubbed her eyes. Here's what's going to happen. Mr. Webb, your complaint about the ongoing relationship is noted, but it holds no weight. Mr. Carter is no longer under Ms. Brooks' supervision, which resolves the conflict of interest. However, Ms. Brooks' accusation of personal motivation is also serious. I'll be conducting interviews with other staff members to determine if there's a pattern of inappropriate behavior on your part. Marcus's jaw clenched. Fine. Mr. Carter, Ms. Brooks, you're free to continue your relationship without further interference. However, I strongly advise both of you to maintain appropriate professional boundaries when Ms. Brooks returns to work. Understood, Elena said. Then we're done here. They left the office together, Marcus storming off in the opposite direction. In the parking lot, Ryan turned to Elena. Did that actually just work? I think so, but Marcus isn't going to let this go. Let him try. We've got nothing to hide. Elena looked at him, something vulnerable in her expression. You're really okay with all of this? The drama, the complications, the constant fighting? Ryan cupped her face in his hands. I'd fight 100 Marcus Webbs for you. That's either very romantic or very stupid. Probably both. Elena laughed and kissed him. I love you. You know that? I know. I love you too. Over the next few weeks, Patricia followed through on her promise. She interviewed staff members at Crescent Bay, and a pattern emerged. Marcus had a history of inappropriate comments about female employees, including Elena. He'd made other people uncomfortable with his behavior, but had never been formally reported. Until now. Marcus was placed on probation and required to attend professional conduct training. He stopped making complaints about Ryan and Elena. The victory felt hollow, but it was a victory nonetheless. Elena returned to work in late October. Her shoulder healed enough for light duty. She couldn't do rescues yet, but she could supervise, manage schedules, handle the administrative work she was good at. Ryan drove down to Crescent Bay one Saturday to meet her for lunch. They sat at a beachside cafe, watching the waves, talking about nothing important. I got offered a promotion, Elena said suddenly. Ryan looked up from his sandwich. What? Regional supervisor position. It opened up last week. Patricia called me this morning. Elena, that's amazing. It would mean more responsibility, more pay, but also more travel. I'd be overseeing multiple beaches, not just Crescent Bay. You should take it. It would mean less time with you, with Mia. Ryan reached across the table and took her hand. It would mean you're getting the recognition you deserve. We'll figure out the rest. Elena studied him. You're sure? I'm sure. Take the job, Elena. You've earned it. She squeezed his hand. Okay. I'll tell Patricia yes. 2 weeks later, Elena started her new position. The schedule was chaotic. She traveled to different beaches throughout the region, conducted inspections, handled staffing issues. But she was good at it, thrived in it even. And somehow they made it work. Ryan adjusted his schedule at North Point. Mia got used to the new rhythm. Mrs. Calloway became practically part of the family. On a Sunday afternoon in early December, 6 months after that first race in the ocean, Ryan picked up Mia from a playdate and drove to Elena's apartment. He'd been planning this for weeks, rehearsing what he'd say, trying to find the perfect moment. There was no perfect moment. There was just now. Elena answered the door in jeans and a sweater, her hair down, her smile genuine and warm. Hey, she said. I wasn't expecting you until later. I know, but I needed to talk to you about something. Elena's expression shifted to concern. Is everything okay? Yeah, more than okay. Can we go for a walk? They walked down to the beach near Elena's apartment, Mia running ahead to collect shells. The sun was starting to set, painting the sky in shades of orange and pink. So, Elena said, what did you want to talk about? Ryan stopped walking and turned to face her. His heart was pounding, his palms sweating despite the cool December air. I've been thinking about what Mia said, about marriage. Elena's eyes widened slightly. Ryan, let me finish. I know it's only been 6 months. I know that's not very long, but I also know that I don't want to spend another day without you. I know that when Mia draws pictures, she draws 3 people now, instead of 2. I know that you've become part of our lives in a way I never expected but can't imagine living without. Ryan, I'm not asking you to marry me right now, but I'm asking if you can see a future where that happens, where we're a family, all 3 of us. Elena's eyes glistened with tears. You're really asking me this? Yeah, I am. On a beach, where it all started. Seemed appropriate. Elena laughed through her tears. You're ridiculous. Is that a yes? That's a yes. I can see that future. That's a yes. I want that future. That's a yes to all of it. Ryan pulled her into his arms and kissed her, and for a moment everything else fell away. The struggles, the complications, the long drives, and the difficult decisions, none of it mattered. They had this. They had each other. Mia came running back with a handful of shells, then stopped when she saw them kissing. Ew, gross, she said, but she was grinning. Ryan and Elena broke apart, both laughing. Come here, kiddo, Ryan said, pulling Mia into a hug. Elena joined them, the 3 of them standing on the beach as the sun set. Are you guys going to get married? Mia asked. Eventually, Elena said, looking at Ryan. Is that okay with you? Mia considered this very seriously. Only if I can be in the wedding. Deal, Elena said, and only if we can have dinosaur cake. I think we can arrange that. Mia threw her arms around both of them. Then yes, you can get married. Ryan met Elena's eyes over Mia's head, and the look they shared said everything words couldn't. This was it. This was family. This was home. 6 months later, on a warm June evening, Ryan stood at the edge of the ocean in a suit that was slightly too tight, watching Elena walk toward him across the sand. Mia walked beside her in a purple dress, carrying a bouquet of wildflowers and grinning like she'd won the lottery. The ceremony was small, just close friends and family. Tom from North Point was there. Patricia from HR came, looking genuinely happy for them. Even a few of the guards from Crescent Bay showed up. Marcus was notably absent. When Elena reached him, she was crying, but she was smiling too. You look beautiful, Ryan whispered. You look terrified, she whispered back. Little bit. The officiant cleared her throat. Shall we begin? They exchanged vows they'd written themselves. Ryan's were simple. A promise to always show up, to always fight for them, to never let fear win. Elena's were longer, more poetic, but they boiled down to the same thing. I choose you. Every day, I choose you. When they kissed, Mia cheered louder than anyone else, and Ryan thought his heart might actually explode from happiness. At the reception, held at a small beachside restaurant, Ryan danced with Elena while Mia spun in circles nearby with the other kids. We did it, Elena said, her head resting on his shoulder. We did. Think it'll last? Ryan pulled back to look at her. What kind of question is that? The realistic kind. Relationships are hard. We've already been through hell to get here. And we made it. That's the point. Elena smiled. You're right. We did make it. Plus, we've got Mia as backup. She'll keep us in line. True. She's terrifyingly perceptive for a 7-year-old. They swayed to the music, surrounded by friends and family, the ocean providing the soundtrack beyond the speakers. I love you, Ryan Carter, Elena said. I love you too, Elena Carter. She laughed. That's going to take some getting used to. You've got time, like the rest of our lives. The rest of our lives, Elena echoed, and kissed him. Later, after the reception ended and Mia had fallen asleep in the car on the way to their new house, the one they'd bought together, with 3 bedrooms and a yard and enough space for all of them, Ryan carried his daughter inside while Elena unlocked the door. They put Mia to bed, still in her purple dress because she refused to wake up enough to change, and then stood in the doorway of their own bedroom, looking at each other. "This is real," Elena said. "We're actually married." "Yep. And we have a kid." "Yep. And a mortgage." "Also, yes." Elena laughed. "How did we get here?" Ryan pulled her close. "You challenged me to a race, and I was stupid enough to take the bet." "Best decision you ever made?" "Second best. The best was deciding to fight for you when it would have been easier to walk away." Elena's eyes filled with tears again. "I'm really glad you didn't walk away." "Me too." They stood there in the doorway, holding each other, two imperfect people who'd found something perfect in the mess of life. Ryan thought about how far they'd come, from that first race in the ocean to standing here, married, with a daughter sleeping down the hall, and a future stretching out ahead of them. It hadn't been easy. There had been complications, sacrifices, moments where everything almost fell apart, but they'd fought for it, for each other, for the family they'd built from broken pieces. And that, Ryan thought as he kissed his wife, was worth every risk. 3 years later, Ryan stood on the beach at Crescent Bay, watching Mia, now 10 years old and still obsessed with dinosaurs, teach her baby brother how to build a sandcastle. Elena sat beside him in a beach chair, cradling their 6-month-old son, James, and laughing at something Mia said. Ryan had transferred back to Crescent Bay a year ago, after Elena had been promoted again and no longer supervised that location. He was back in Tower 3, back where it all started, but everything was different now. Better. "Daddy, look!" Mia shouted, pointing at her sandcastle. "It's a volcano! It's perfect!" Ryan called back. Elena leaned against him, James dozing in her arms. "You happy?" she asked. Ryan looked at his wife, his daughter, his son, at the ocean that had brought them together and the beach where they'd fought for each other. "Yeah," he said. "I really am." Elena smiled and kissed his cheek. "Me too." Mia ran over, sand in her hair and joy on her face. "Can we go swimming?" "After lunch," Elena said, "and after you help your dad put sunscreen on James." "Fine," Mia sighed dramatically, but she was already reaching for the sunscreen bottle. Ryan watched his family, his whole, complete, imperfect, beautiful family, and felt something settle deep in his chest, something he'd been missing for so long he'd forgotten what it felt like. Peace, contentment, home. The ocean waves crashed against the shore, constant and eternal, and Ryan Carter finally understood what it meant to be truly, completely alive. Not just surviving, living, and he was never going back. North Point was different from Crescent Bay in ways Ryan hadn't anticipated. The beach was rockier, the water colder, the crowd smaller. His new supervisor, Tom Garrett, was a laid-back guy in his 50s who'd been doing this job longer than Ryan had been alive. The other guards were friendly enough, but Ryan was the outsider, the guy who'd transferred in from somewhere else for reasons nobody quite understood. He didn't tell them about Elena, didn't mention why he'd left Crescent Bay, just showed up, did his work, and drove home. The commute was brutal. 40 minutes each way turned into an hour when traffic was bad, which was most days. Ryan left the house before Mia woke up and got home just in time for dinner. Mrs. Calloway's hours increased. The grocery bills went up. Everything cost more. Time, money, energy. But when Elena texted him during his lunch break, or when he saw her on weekends, Ryan remembered why he'd made this choice. It was worth it, mostly. 2 months into the new job, Ryan sat in his truck in the North Point parking lot, too exhausted to drive home. His phone rang. "Elena." "Hey," he answered. "You sound tired." "Long day. Had 3 rescues, a jellyfish incident, and Tom asked me to train the new kid who doesn't know the difference between a riptide and a regular current." Elena laughed softly. "Sounds familiar. How's the shoulder?" "Better. Physical therapy is still hell, but I'm getting some range of motion back." "That's good." A pause. Then Elena said, "You okay? You sound off." Ryan leaned his head back against the seat. "Just tired. It's a lot of driving." "I know. I'm sorry." "Don't be. This was my choice." "Doesn't mean it's not hard." Ryan closed his eyes. "I miss you." I miss you too. When can I see you? This weekend? Saturday afternoon? I'll be there. Bring Mia. I'll make us dinner. You sure? Your arm? I can manage spaghetti one-handed, and Mia can help me. Ryan smiled. She'd love that. Then it's a date. Now go home and get some sleep. Yes, ma'am. Saturday came, and Ryan drove to Elena's apartment with Mia chattering in the back seat about a book she'd read about volcanoes. Elena met them at the door wearing an apron and a smile, her arms still in a lighter sling but moving more freely than before. Hey, you two, she said. Mia ran inside and immediately started inspecting Elena's kitchen. Can I help cook? Absolutely. I need someone to stir the sauce. Ryan watched them work together, Elena showing Mia how to hold the spoon, Mia concentrating so hard her tongue stuck out between her teeth. Something in his chest expanded, warm and solid. This was what family felt like. After dinner, Mia crashed on Elena's couch watching a movie, and Ryan and Elena sat on the balcony with coffee, watching the sun set over the ocean in the distance. She's getting attached to you, Ryan said quietly. Is that a problem? No, but if this doesn't work out, it's going to work out. Ryan looked at her. How do you know? Elena set down her coffee and took his hand. Because I've never wanted anything to work out more in my life. Because when I wake up, you're the first person I think about. Because when Mia helps me cook, I feel like I'm part of something I never knew I was missing. Ryan's throat tightened. Elena, I'm not good at this, she continued, at being vulnerable, at letting people in. But you and Mia, you've changed something in me, and I don't want to go back to who I was before. Ryan pulled her closer, careful of her shoulder. You're not going back. We're moving forward, together. Together, Elena echoed and kissed him. And then Marcus Webb filed another complaint. Ryan got the call from Patricia Moreno on a Tuesday morning while he was on his way to work. Mr. Carter, we need to schedule a meeting. Mr. Webb has submitted additional documentation regarding your relationship with Ms. Brooks. Ryan's stomach dropped. What kind of documentation? Photos. Time-stamped images of your vehicle at Ms. Brooks' apartment complex at various times over the past 2 months. He's claiming the relationship is ongoing and that your transfer was insufficient to resolve the conflict of interest. We're not working together anymore. There is no conflict. I understand. However, Mr. Webb is arguing that you received preferential treatment during the transfer process and that Ms. Brooks influenced the decision. That's bullshit. I requested the transfer. Elena had nothing to do with it. Nevertheless, we need to address this formally. Can you come in Friday at 2 p.m.? Ryan wanted to scream. Instead, he said, I'll be there. He called Elena immediately after hanging up with Patricia. Marcus is at it again, he said without preamble. What did he do now? He's been taking photos of my truck at your place. Submitted them to HR. They want to meet Friday. Elena was silent for a moment. Then quietly, I'm going to kill him. Get in line. Ryan, this is my fault. I should have... Don't. This is Marcus being a vindictive asshole. It has nothing to do with you. He's doing this because I rejected him. Ryan's hand tightened on the steering wheel. What? Years ago. Before you. He asked me out, I said no, and he's held a grudge ever since. This is his revenge. Then we tell HR that. We file a counter-complaint for harassment. We can't prove it. So we just let him keep coming after us? Elena sighed. No, we fight back. But we do it smart. Friday's meeting was tense. Marcus sat across from them, his expression smug, a folder of printed photos in front of him. Patricia looked tired, like she was already regretting getting involved in this mess. Mr. Webb, Patricia said, you've submitted evidence that Mr. Carter and Miss Brooks are still in a relationship despite the transfer. Is that correct? Yes, these photos show his vehicle at her residence on multiple occasions over the past 8 weeks. And your concern is that the transfer was a smokescreen. They're still together, which means the conflict of interest was never actually resolved. Patricia turned to Ryan and Elena. Is the relationship ongoing? Yes, Ryan said, but I'm not her employee anymore. I work at a different beach under a different supervisor. There's no conflict. The conflict, Marcus said, is that she still holds influence over his career. She could make recommendations, put in good words, use her position to benefit him. That's absurd, Elena said. I have no authority over North Point operations. But you have connections, influence, and you're using this relationship for personal gain. Elena's face went cold. Personal gain. That's your argument. It's a valid concern. No, it's a desperate attempt to sabotage a relationship because I turned you down 3 years ago. The room went silent. Marcus's face flushed red. That has nothing to do with... You asked me out in 2022. I said no. You've had a problem with me ever since. And now that I'm in a relationship with someone else, you're trying to destroy it. That's a serious accusation, Ms. Brooks, Patricia said. It's the truth, and I have witnesses who can confirm that Marcus has made inappropriate comments about my personal life on multiple occasions. Marcus stood abruptly. This is ridiculous. I'm filing a complaint based on legitimate policy violations, and you're turning it into some kind of personal vendetta. Because that's exactly what it is, Ryan said, standing as well. You don't care about policy. You care about hurting Elena, and I'm not going to sit here and let you do that. Patricia held up a hand. Everyone sit down, now. They did, reluctantly. Patricia took off her glasses and rubbed her eyes. Here's what's going to happen. Mr. Webb, your complaint about the ongoing relationship is noted, but it holds no weight. Mr. Carter is no longer under Ms. Brooks' supervision, which resolves the conflict of interest. However, Ms. Brooks' accusation of personal motivation is also serious. I'll be conducting interviews with other staff members to determine if there's a pattern of inappropriate behavior on your part. Marcus's jaw clenched. Fine. Mr. Carter, Ms. Brooks, you're free to continue your relationship without further interference. However, I strongly advise both of you to maintain appropriate professional boundaries when Ms. Brooks returns to work. Understood, Elena said. Then we're done here. They left the office together, Marcus storming off in the opposite direction. In the parking lot, Ryan turned to Elena. Did that actually just work? I think so, but Marcus isn't going to let this go. Let him try. We've got nothing to hide. Elena looked at him, something vulnerable in her expression. You're really okay with all of this? The drama, the complications, the constant fighting? Ryan cupped her face in his hands. I'd fight 100 Marcus Webbs for you. That's either very romantic or very stupid. Probably both. Elena laughed and kissed him. I love you. You know that? I know. I love you too. Over the next few weeks, Patricia followed through on her promise. She interviewed staff members at Crescent Bay, and a pattern emerged. Marcus had a history of inappropriate comments about female employees, including Elena. He'd made other people uncomfortable with his behavior, but had never been formally reported. Until now, Marcus was placed on probation and required to attend professional conduct training. Within a month, he'd transferred to a different region entirely, apparently deciding it wasn't worth the fight. The victory felt sweet this time. Elena returned to work in late October, her shoulder healed enough for light duty. She couldn't do rescues yet, but she could supervise, manage schedules, handle the administrative work she was good at. On a Sunday afternoon in early December, 6 months after that first race in the ocean, Ryan picked up Mia from a playdate and drove to Elena's apartment. He'd been planning this for weeks, rehearsing what he'd say, trying to find the perfect moment. There was no perfect moment. There was just now. Elena answered the door in jeans and a sweater, her hair down, her smile genuine and warm. Hey, she said. I wasn't expecting you until later. I know, but I needed to talk to you about something. Elena's expression shifted to concern. Is everything okay? Yeah, more than okay. Can we go for a walk? They walked down to the beach near Elena's apartment, Mia running ahead to collect shells. The sun was starting to set, painting the sky in shades of orange and pink. So, Elena said, what did you want to talk about? Ryan stopped walking and turned to face her. His heart was pounding, his palms sweating despite the cool December air. I've been thinking about what Mia said, about marriage. Elena's eyes widened slightly. Ryan, let me finish. I know it's only been 6 months. I know that's not very long, but I also know that I don't want to spend another day without you. I know that when Mia draws pictures, she draws 3 people now instead of 2. I know that you've become part of our lives in a way I never expected but can't imagine living without. He pulled a small box from his pocket and opened it, Inside was a simple ring, nothing extravagant, but honest. Elena Brooks, will you marry me? Elena's hands flew to her mouth, tears streaming down her face. For a moment she couldn't speak. Then she nodded. Yes, yes, absolutely yes. Ryan slipped the ring onto her finger and pulled her into his arms, kissing her while Mia cheered from down the beach. Did she say yes? Mia shouted, running toward them. She said yes, Ryan called back. Mia threw herself at both of them, wrapping her arms around their legs. Does this mean Elena's going to be my mom? Elena crouched down to Mia's level, wiping her eyes. If that's okay with you. Mia thought about it seriously. Will you come to my school stuff? Every event. And help me with my science projects? Absolutely. And can we get a dog? Elena laughed. We'll talk about the dog. Then yes, you can be my mom. 6 months later, on a warm June evening, Ryan stood at the edge of the ocean in a suit that was slightly too tight, watching Elena walk toward him across the sand. Mia walked beside her in a purple dress, carrying a bouquet of wildflowers and grinning like she'd won the lottery. The ceremony was small, just close friends and family. Tom from North Point was there. Patricia from HR came, looking genuinely happy for them. Even a few of the guards from Crescent Bay showed up. When Elena reached him, she was crying, but she was smiling too. You look beautiful, Ryan whispered. You look terrified, she whispered back. Little bit. They exchanged vows they'd written themselves. Ryan's were simple. A promise to always show up, to always fight for them, to never let fear win. Elena's were longer, more poetic, but they boiled down to the same thing. I choose you. Every day, I choose you. When they kissed, Mia cheered louder than anyone else, and Ryan thought his heart might actually explode from happiness. At the reception, Ryan danced with Elena, while Mia spun in circles nearby with the other kids. We did it, Elena said, her head resting on his shoulder. We did. Think it'll last? Ryan pulled back to look at her. I know it will, because we've already been through the hard part. Everything else is just living. Elena smiled. The rest of our lives. The rest of our lives, Ryan echoed. They swayed to the music, surrounded by friends and family, the ocean providing the soundtrack beyond the speakers. 2 years later, Ryan stood on the beach at Crescent Bay, back in Tower 3 after Elena's promotion to regional supervisor meant she no longer supervised this location. Mia, now 9 years old and still obsessed with dinosaurs, was building a sandcastle with some friends, while Elena sat in a beach chair nearby, visibly pregnant with their second child. Ryan climbed down from the tower during his break and walked over to them. How are my girls? He asked, kissing Elena's forehead. Your daughter just informed me that when the baby comes, we have to name it either Stegosaurus or Brenda. No other options. Ryan laughed. Brenda's not so bad. I'm not naming our child after a dinosaur. What if it's a boy? Then she suggests T-Rex or Brian. I kind of like Brian. Elena swatted his arm. You're not helping. Mia ran over sand in her hair. Daddy, can we go swimming later? After my shift ends. Deal? Deal. Ryan watched his daughter run back to her friends, then looked at his wife, at the life they'd built together from nothing but a reckless race and a dangerous bet. You happy? Elena asked, the same question she'd asked him 100 times before. Ryan looked at his family, at the ocean that had brought them together, at the beach where they'd fought for each other and won. Yeah, he said, I really am. Elena reached for his hand. Me too. And as the waves crashed against the shore and the sun climbed higher in the sky, Ryan Carter finally understood what it meant to be truly, completely alive. Not just surviving, living.